Hello and welcome to another GIS Day event. So excited to have you here today and really, really excited about our guest. I am so pleased to have such a global stage. Our guest is joining us from South Africa, and we're going to talk about GIS and mining and lots to learn here. Very excited. So I will now turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Philippa. I'm so happy to be here today on this platform. My name is Sharon Lindsey, and I am a geologist as well as a geoinformatics professional. And I am so passionate about both fields and also, the possibilities, the endless possibilities that GIS has presented to me as a professional, and I'm happy to share my journey here and also my experience as
I
a
love it.
GIS professional.
Okay, so let's get started. I'm gonna turn it over to you now to lead our presentation.
Okay, so what does it mean to be a GIS, a professional in GIS? It's a lot of things to me, but however, three things really resonate within me in being a GIS professional. The first one is the information, which is the I in the GIS. So with the information, we have information coming from different sources, different areas of expertise, and we also have different tools that we could use in and innovate. And it then helps us in terms of empowerment and also understanding real situations and making sure that the data itself is translated into information. The second aspect that I love about being a GIS professional is the versatility. So, from facilities management, the health department, the environmentalists, the mining industry, banking industry, all these sectors allow you to be versatile in your GIS expertise as a professional. And that is so much interesting for me as a professional. And as long as you have the core principles of GIS, you understand the core principles of GIS, you are able to apply them in all these industries. And that's where the versatility of being a GIS professional comes in. And the last part that I really enjoy about being a GIS professional is the creativity. So, besides it being a science, you are able to explore different aspects of photography, map making, and use awesome apps, develop nice looking dashboards with wonderful colors. And this enhances your creativity as a person. And you're able to tell your story using ArcGIS story maps, those kind of applications. And those are advanced and they're enticing to the audience. So that's what it means to me to be a GIS professional. And I'm happy to start my presentation by introducing myself in terms of how I started in GIS. So I started as a young geology graduate working in the mining industry. And while working in the mining industry, there was a gap, a big gap. And for me, this gap presented an opportunity. So mining is in mining, a map is everything. A map is everything. So it shows not just location, but the distribution and the identification of rock units and how they're exposed on the earth. So a map is it's everything in mining, and I realized that I could use these maps to actually do a lot. And I started to explore GIS. That's how I got introduced to GIS, in understanding how maps are made, how I can help my organization make maps, speedily, because maps are indeed everything. And the institution required maps to actually do target generation. So in order for you to know where the minerals are, you need to have a map that will tell you what is going on the surface of the earth. So target generation was a key tool in terms of advancing the mining business. Where is the gold? Where is the platinum? And that's where maps come from. And the second aspect is in order for you to execute the applications for mineral rights and permits, you need maps to do that. And someone has to do that. And that's where GIS comes in very strong, as well as the different sources of data, not just paper maps, but you have geophysical surveys that are being done, you have geochemical analysis and samples that are taken and analyzed. And all that information can be incorporated in a GIS system and allow the industry to actually make decisions about space and also change the landscape and actually generate a profit through that. So I found the gap, but then I realized that I was not competent in my GIS. I was not capacitated. And that's where I pursued a postgraduate qualification in geoinformatics. And I did that. And that also helped me to um, be able to transfer some knowledge through training. You know, you have um, I was working with the older generation that were not tech savvy. So they use paper maps in the industry when they would go out on sites. And when GIS came, the lady from GIS would come. I would then translate all these maps and, empower all my colleagues to be digitally savvy in terms of using some of the tools and software that are available for mineral exploration. And, this would actually help them in terms of time, the time that they took in terms of doing their work. And it also proved to be cost effective in the long run. Secondary to that, I also felt that I needed to join other people, in the industry who are GIS professionals, and therefore I became a member of the South African Geomatics Council, which is an accredited body. And with that, that helped me to understand the governance aspect as well as the best practices and adhere to best practices and bring all that and implement all these into my organization. So the GIS investment became then a good value add, and there was return in terms of the progress and the business progression. So the long and short is that from my experience as a geologist and a geomatics professional, um, there are many tools that are available out there that actually enhance our world of mining and actually make it easier and much, much, much fun to traverse with the tools. So I'm going to share with you some of these tools that I'm using in my workplace as well as my experience. This is not all of them, but these are the ones that really pique my interest. So the start of my presentation is using GIS tools for mining exploration. So mining exploration is something that is very, very common in South Africa. And we have a lot of mining companies that rely on tools in order for them to understand the landscape. So GIS becomes very critical in terms of helping or being employed in some of these companies where we can then use the skill in order to improve the landscape and help the industry in terms of flourishing and making sure that we are doing the best that we can in the fields that we are. So there are some GIS roles that are interesting. Some are challenging, and definitely some are rewarding. And I'll be giving you a brief outline on these. So in most cases, a GIS professional is not with other GIS professionals. So you find yourself being the only GIS professional in your company, or there's just one unit. If it's a big company, then there's a GIS unit that is a support for a bigger organization. So in my case, I was the only professional that understood GIS. And if people don't know the capabilities of GIS and your capability, then they may never use it and never realize the benefit of it. So it's up to you as an individual to promote the field and to promote yourself and what GIS can do for the organization. So I'll start with field working tools. So, okay, I'll start with field working tools, but before I go into the tools, um, the field workers require you to help them to make their job easier, because they go and they look on the ground and they collect the information, and then they are working on site. So these can be your junior geologists or any field workers, even someone that is mending a drill rig. It's a field worker. So they are working on the ground. And you as a GIS professional can be very instrumental in helping them to be efficient in their work by allowing or helping, enabling them to use mobile tools. Mobile tools are very, very user-friendly for field workers. And what you can do is you assist them in collecting information. So some of the work that you do, you may have to go in the field yourself and look at the space so that you understand the challenges that field workers go through before you actually implement solutions or provide tools for them to do their work efficiently. So geologists, on the other hand, and engineers, the professionals, most of them may be office bound or they occasionally visit the site. So they are involved in the planning and the execution of the work. So as a GIS professional, you have to engage them to understand what their requirements are in terms of planning for the project that you're working in, as well as what data analysis you can conduct, whether there's remote sensing data and methodologies that you could use to assist them. So that is another aspect of the work that GIS professionals do in the mining industry. And then the other aspect is having to engage executives and board members. So this allows the GIS professional to be able to the GIS professional to be able to promote the strategic objectives of the company. And we showcase our GIS expertise through presentations, pitch decks, and beautiful maps that can entice them, even dashboards. And those kind of tools we also use, and we become very efficient in them so that they can buy into what we are doing and understand the true benefits of GIS, and also invest further in the field, and so that we can then bring in more people that can exercise the skill within the organization. So I found myself having to go on site at times having to go and collect data in the field and understand what the situation and what type of issues they're dealing with. And then I also had to engage the more professional teams, the technical professionals, in terms of planning so that they're more efficient in their work, and also establishing how GIS can better assist them in executing that. So the executive team required more, the more strategic objectives of the organizations to be met. So they have to look at the goals and objectives of the organization. So as a GIS professional, it's also advisable for you to know what the strategic objective is so that you can be able to use the tools in order to make these decisions and empower the executive management to make efficient decisions. So what is the benefit of GIS in mining? It would be, you will see in the next slide that the first benefit, it's long-term cost saving. So yes, there's a cost to implement initially, but on the long run, you will save yourself a lot of money when you use GIS tools. And also it's innovative and it's progressive. So we're no longer using paper maps on site, rolling large large maps, but then we are now using our digital tools, we're using our mobile devices. The landscape has changed and improved so much over the years. So there's a lot of innovation happening. Also, another benefit is visualization and simplification. So it's so amazing to see your data being represented in a simplified way, that you're able to understand what is going on, especially in real time. And with GIS tools, you are able to see all that through dashboards and through maps, and be able to understand what is happening in the landscape, even in real time. And we're able to map the databases. So the databases are being mapped, and you're able to see what is happening through a user interface that is graphic in nature and also interactive in nature. And the data, the representation, so the data is not sitting there, but it's well represented, and it's live, and the updates are in real time. So that is what the mining industry really needs and really uses the GIS for. In some cases, it's been a long journey in moving from the past methods where it was paper and more silos, working in one, using books and notebooks. But now we have forms that we can create for field workers, and information is then translated onto site in real time. That presents efficiency and time saving. And also you have information that is collaborated, that is accurate, and also information that is verified. You also have, you can monitor key performance of different aspects of your space, whether you are mapping structural features. There's a collaboration between those who are mapping structural features and those who are actually mapping and looking out for different rock outcrop. So with GIS, you're able to integrate all that information into one platform. And this improves productivity, and you're able to actually make a lot in terms of understanding what are you dealing with your data, and the value add is immense. So also performance monitoring in real time using dashboards, where you are able to see some of the production that is slacking and comparing different aspects from each other using time lag series and the like. So those are the benefits of GIS um, in as a high level summary. So I want to go into some of the tools that are being used for data collection. And these tools are primarily used by field workers. So the first one that we used a lot is Survey 123. So the surveys are created through the surveys are created through ArcGIS Survey 123 Connect. And then all the information is custom made, custom designed based on the requirements. And then the survey is then shared with the users. So for our use of the survey, some of the case studies that we've had were novice users. They were not GIS conversant, but through the link, they were able to collect the data. These were young students that were going in a mining community doing a survey and asking critical questions about an area and understanding what the area, dynamics about the area, the demographics of the area. And as these students were collecting the information using Survey 123, back in the office, we were able to view the information in real time using a dashboard, and we were able to see how the field workers were performing on site in real time, and their manager was able to actually put interventions in place in order to ensure that productivity was up to scratch. So this is one of the tools that we use in the mining space, Survey 123, where you have, you know, you don't, the users don't have to have experience, but you as a professional, you empower them so that they are capacitated, and they also gain a skill in terms of their data collection methods, and you are able to teach them and train them first on how to use this tool. So training, there's a training day, one or two training day of novice users, and you're able to collect a lot of data in a very short space of time and actually make meaningful results out of that data. So furthermore, Survey 123 and also helps with consolidating all that information. So not only do you collect the information, but you're able to review the information and create reports from this application. And this helps in terms of making the field workers a task very easy in terms of collecting the information, since the information is not lost. It's kept there in real time. And the other aspect of it is that the data can be also reviewed and analyzed in real time, and the reports are generated. So these reports are generated within the application itself, and these reports can be used for reporting purposes, whether it's managerial reports that want to report on the progress of the field workers when they are on site, or it's reports that are required to understand what is happening on site. So the second tool that we've used for field workers is field maps. So field maps, ArcGIS Field Maps is a mobile app for efficiently completing work in the field. So the map is generated by you as a GIS professional, and then this map is then sent through a link for others to use on the field. So they are seeing now a map interface, and the users are able to view the map and interact with the map, and then capture data on the map. And then this allows for real-time reporting using location. And this helps a lot in terms of mining, where you have field mapping that needs to be conducted on site, where you can create a survey that has drop-down list of the different outcrop, and then you can generate a map of the outcrop based on what has been collected on field maps. This tool has been very beneficial, and it helps the field workers in terms of being proactive, as well as understanding the landscape using a map on their mobile devices in real time. So this is the second tool. Another tool, tools that are the main tools that are for planning, for analysis, and for processing are your normal tools that are generally used in GIS. That is your ArcGIS desktop and ArcGIS Pro. And here you can do a whole lot of analysis. You can do a whole lot of processing. And this is the core functions that we use the tools for. We can then layer different types of data sources, remotely sensed data, geophysical data, we overlay geochemical data. And then we are able to also hone in our cartography skills and display different types of maps for different types of purposes. And also through these platforms, we can then develop apps. So this part is for planning and actual operations. This is where a GIS professional will engage the technical team to understand what their requirements are and help them with these tools that are being provided through this platform. For visualization and reporting, this is the fun part where that's the value of GIS is derived. So ArcGIS for Power BI is amazing. It's an amazing tool that really presents maps that are amazing for executives and board members. It wows them, and they really love how GIS is able to translate what is seen on the ground and the patterns that are coming out of there, and really make so that they can make clear and sound business decisions. So the executive team is concerned with the strategic objectives of organizations, and they look at the vision, the mission, the goals of the organization, and they're always referring to that. And with these tools, with the reports that are generated from ArcGIS for Power BI and the like, the executive team is able to draw from these tools and determine the strategic direction of an organization, and also make sure that the organization is adhering to the policies and procedures, and also it's moving in the direction that they are mandated to move it to. So the reporting function and the tools that are available for reporting, the mining industry really welcomes them because they present an interactive platform where they're able to see the deposits, they're able to see the patterns from the geochemical analysis, and then make decisions about what is happening on the ground and in the project. So this one is also an amazing tool. ArcGIS Story Maps and Experience Builder allows us to then take these the reporting and build stories and entice the audience and give them a wonderful picture where they can appreciate the work that is done by field workers and the work that is done by the technical team, and then consume that the information and make decisions about an organization. So a GIS professional plays a role in all throughout the value chain of an organization. And it's about selling yourself as a professional, making sure that your services are known and being there, being forward with the services and being able to use the applications proactively. So it's an ever-changing industry that is growing very fast. So it's important that you attend conferences, you go listen to webinars, training, and empower yourself as a GIS professional, because there are many tools, there are many software and applications, and many ways in which we can take the GIS aspects and translate it and share it with the other users that will appreciate what we are offering. So all in all, that is the long and short of my presentation and sharing it with you what the mining industry really uses GIS for. And this is just also not everything, because there's a lot out there. But I wanted to share these few with you and understanding the different processes or the different aspects that are involved in mining exploration, whether it's target generation or it's actually the image processing or the analysis, or even reporting and presenting dashboards that will wow your presenters. And that, for me, it's my interests have been piqued very much within the industry, and I've been very much involved and interested in this. What is coming up? What's next within the industry? Keeps my mind refreshed, and there are a lot of smart interactive platforms and applications and dashboards that are coming up, and these are so useful, and they actually, they make our lives easier. But it's up to the GIS professional to empower, the institution or the organization in allowing or assisting them to adapt and use these applications for the benefit of the industry. So I will pause there and allow Philippa to ask any questions or continue with
I, lo-
anything.
I love that. And I just, it's very inspiring to see how many different applications GIS has. You're obviously an expert in mining, and a background in geology. And so it's just interesting to see this. And I have to say, and I think this was really important, because I, growing up, never saw a geologist speak. It just, you're it, and I think it's so important that scientists, and this is such an intersectional field, have a stage and have an opportunity to share this really important work that you do. And my background is media and marketing. I didn't have a
Wow.
science degree. And so being on stage and creating a video and podcast, I've always been behind the scenes of entertainment and media. But so my growing is now sort of getting in front of the camera, in front of the mic. But that was a huge gap that I saw when I came into this industry. It was like, wait, where's the and I think, I mean, to me, I love GIS because to me it's a communication tool. You get to tell
Yeah.
stories, you get to communicate, engage with people. There's a wow factor to it. And so I think
Wow.
in GIS we all can find our place. Like, I definitely want to become very technically proficient, and I've been working very, very hard, and I fall down deep tech holes and I'm climb my way out, and then I fall into another one. I'm in one right now, as I'm working on a Google immersive uh, uh, geospatial challenge with Cesium's 3D tiling, and I'm trying to figure out how to get that all to load into a web map. But I know that Esri actually also has that integration coming out in its 3.2. And so I'm trying to figure out, do I do it with Google? Do I do it with Esri? I know it also integrates now with QGIS. So I'm playing in that space. I have a master's degree in urban planning, and
Wow.
it was in sort of the beginning of our data analysis that I just fell in love with data science. And I was like, ooh,
Wow.
I want to do that. That's kind of really interesting to me. But then I sort of saw data visualization, and then that led me into GIS. And within the same university, I started with a GIST certificate, only to realize that 1 year was not even going to be nearly enough for me. For what I had sort of set out, that I want to own an identity as a spatial data scientist. And so to have the elements of computer science and data analytics and GIS kind of, and then realizing that I wasn't leaving behind my communications media background, but it was very strong in me that I wanted to connect, communicate, and share all of these things that I was learning and discovering, and meet all of these people. I think one of the things from my professional culture for the work that I did for a long time is we did breakfast, lunches, dinners, and drinks. That was just how you became part of the industry. The people you knew each
Wow.
other. And it was just so, like, that's what you did. If you worked in the entertainment industry, you met people and you broke bread with them. So these interviews and podcasting that I do is an opportunity for me to build my network, to meet amazing people, and also to share these conversations so that other people can be inspired. Because, like I said, I don't see enough geologists on stage.
Yeah, I'm inspired by your journey. I think it's interesting. And what I've learned or what I've seen is that once you do GIS, you like a lot of people that do GIS, they don't just do GIS. It's like a whole lot of other things. And most people that have just done geology are just like that. They're still doing geology even today. The people that I studied with, that's all they do. They go on site and they look at rocks and they write reports. So once I did GIS, then my mind, I just, a new world opened up for me. I could see like different possibilities. And I then also, I do other things, a whole lot of other things. And I've I did voiceover training because then I realized that in order for me to share what I know, I can't be too scientific. I need to be able to share it with just a lay person that's walking in the street. And then I did presentation as well. So that helped me to be able to reach out to people that are not scientists, that are not like locked up there with their reports and papers. And then I enjoyed that because it's like you are in another world and you can explain it to just somebody that's not in your space and explain certain concepts. And then I went and I did a pivot. I left mining and I went into government as a researcher and also in construction. So it was also a male dominated industry, but I was able to move with GIS easier because I only now had GIS, not the geology. So I had GIS and I was using that for my research and understanding different fields, architects, working with those people. So, yeah, and what I also learned is that, in the future, one person has many like many hats. They wear many hats, not just one hat like the old people that I'm a mining engineer for 30 years, you know,
And I
and
think
that's,
I agree with that. And I sometimes get I confuse myself because when I think about, well, what do I do, or what's my specifics? But I've produced a lot of entertainment media content and events and things like that. And now I'm in a GIS project management course. I was like, wow, I've never labeled what I do as project management, but I do project management. Like that makes sense. I can organize things. I'm a really good administrator most of the time, except when I fall down tech holes. And then I'm like, I have to block out the world just to sort of figure out what I'm working through. But I think that the intersectional nature of this is so inspiring because it can touch all sorts of fields. And I think
Yeah.
that, for example, I've gotten very much into the Google ecosystem through the Women Tech Maker Ambassadors program, which is amazing, and it's like being mentored by Google. And they
Really?
it's a phenomenal program. Highly recommend
I'm
it.
s- I'm interested. I'm always interested in learning new things.
The Google, so Google Women Tech, so let me start with Women Tech Makers is a Google initiative. Anybody can
Okay.
join Women Tech Makers with their email, and then you'll get up to date on different things. And then about 2 or 3 times a year, they open it up for applications to be an ambassador. And then
Oh,
it's a very simple application, but they want to know that you are both someone who identifies as someone in tech, and obviously GIS is tech, and that you also can speak and be an ambassador. And the role is, it's kind of a, as an ambassador, you're required to do one activity a quarter. So whether you mentor someone,
okay.
whether you participate in a speaking event, whether you host something, any number of things kind of meet the qualification. But as long as you log one event, one thing that you've done, you can say as an active member. And then they have, it's a global, there's, I think when I started, there were 1,000 global ambassadors, and now they're up to 3,000 global ambassadors.
Wow.
And it is a phenomenal program. And then they have all sorts of sub programs in there. So one of them is called Women Developers Academy. And I was hoping Women Developers Academy would be like, teach me to code better, since that's what I'm working on. Fortunately, I'm getting that through my university. I'm in a GIS programming and customization course. But it actually surprised me in the fact that it was a public speaking course. They
Oh,
really wanted to
wow.
get these very proficient women in tech on stages and getting them comfortable speaking, getting them comfortable giving a technical presentation. And
Wow.
so and it, the calendar sort of works out like the first part of the year they have International Women's Day as the celebration, is the theme. And then the second part of the day of the year they have Google I/O, which is their main conference. And then in the fall they have DevFest, which are local events that give people an opportunity to sort of have hands-on tech, and a lot of them are sort of local free events with Google developer groups are all over the world. And so they're hosted by Google developer groups and sometimes co-hosted with Google development student groups. And because as we came out of this program, they wanted to sort of push us in the world and said, go speak at DevFest. But it was too late in the cycle for most of us to get into that. And when I was talking to LA, they said, we could use some extra promotion. So I kind of got approval to do a DevFest collaboration on YouTube. So I've now been doing
Wow.
DevFest interviews on one of my other channels, or my main channel for that. And so that we're sort of I realized there's just this little niche of, I love doing interviews. I've been doing a podcast for the last 2 years that airs on 360 Talk Radio for Women. And there I talk about, it's called Muse and Metrics. So it's kind of the possible and the practical. And I'm starting my 3rd year with that. And so this last season, the first actually 4 seasons were just me talking for an hour, just to get my own voice, my own, just kind of tell my own story, kind of almost to myself, because I was going through a lot of transitions and a lot of pandemic-led transitions. And I was kind of moving through urban planning, starting in GIS, moving across the country a couple of times. And I also realized I wasn't sure about the admin and having guests until I got into this Women Tech Makers program. And I was like, wait a second, this is the group. And so I had started doing 8 interviews as a 5-hour like audio summit for International Women's Day. And then I did another one for Google I/O Extended. And then at that point I was building these relationships, and I said, okay, let's make my next 18 guests. So each one having an hour, Women Tech Makers. So I'm just wrapping out season 5. And but then I was like, wait, I want to talk to GIS people. But I also realized, like, I poked my toe in that water last summer before I started my Gist, and I didn't even know about like the Esri user conference. And I realized I couldn't hold a conversation like we're having today if I hadn't had my year of education and now continuing on for another year. I need to be at the beginning of at least a peer level to really, I think, make
Yeah.
these conversations
I'm so
really valuable.
inspired. I'm gonna ask, can you mentor me? I'm so inspired. by what you're saying because I have a lot of content, but I've been a hermit and then I don't share enough. Yeah, so I was thinking that in the next year I need to, even if I talk to myself, but let me share what I know, the bits and pieces of information that I've put together and share it. And I guess, you were the one that came into my space. I actually attracted you here so that you can help me because you walked this journey and you are moving and you're making it work. And it's so inspirational. I'm inspired truly.
Well, thank you. It's well, and we have limitations, and then we work through them. So, for example, like
Yeah.
I'm still learning editing, and I've maxed out my computer. So, what I'm doing now is a simple form. Like I'm putting this on a brand new channel, so there's no definitely audience. I'm not like it's like we're sort of it's as if we're pre-recording, and then it lands in my StreamYard, and then I can download it and re-upload it. But because my computer has just maxed itself out, like one of the things I'm going to do is like a shortcut is I'm going to take your slides, I'm going to take your audio only off of this, and I'm going to just do short clips where we can just kind of
Yeah.
get to sort of pieces of it. And then as I can free up more space on my computer, I can download these fuller video files, and then I can edit them into sort of shorter pieces. But you're welcome on my stage anytime. This is a new channel called Maps Data Design. So I wanted to create a channel that was definitely focused on GIS, on data science, and on all of the design of geo design and other elements of kind of that make maps and data beautiful. And so that's
Yeah,
kind
I,
of
I did forget to talk about her GIS. I don't know how I forgot, but it's also a nonprofit that we started for women. It's for women empowerment because we felt that women take longer to figure things out because of our journey. So there's a girl, we empower girls to get into the field from high school, and then the ones in university, some of them they don't actually know where they're going to work with GIS because GIS on its own, you're so lost because you can't see an application unless if you are in an industry, then you see an application for it. And then we also empower those who are working but maybe want to pivot and want to grow in their career because some are just like on autopilot. They're just doing the same thing every day and they're not seeing business, starting a business and providing a service for a municipality. They don't see it that way. They're just stuck as, workers. So that's what the nonprofit is trying to do. So we have gatherings every now and then. We unfortunately didn't have a GIS day celebration, but um, yeah, we just needed a sponsor, but it took two, we didn't plan enough. But I think next year we will. So it's
well,
also
there's
another thing that I'm.
well, I was going to say, so what I'm doing now is I use kind of GIS Day to sort of kick off the channel, and it was my sort of thing to say, hey, let's, and I could kind of promote it. To me, the days are better for marketing. To me, I can produce content any day, and I actually realize I want to start consistently producing content all year long. But then I want to use, so we've got February is Geo month, and so there's a lot of marketing opportunities in February. And then, of course, you've got the summer, you've got the Esri user conferences. And so, what I like to do is just kind of pick out those kind of marketing days, but
Yeah.
essentially produce content, plan for content all year long. So, come back and do a dedicated presentation for, is it her GIS? You said
Yes.
her GIS.
Yes.
Come back and
GIS,
do
yes.
a dedicated presentation anytime. And then, like I said, but the marketing piece of it, but I need extra time to do really editing and
Yeah.
things like that. And that's like kind of my goal over the Christmas holiday is really get in and take my editing to another level and take these longer interviews and start making shorter clips and then be able to come back to you and say, hey, this is, can we get a piece of this and a piece of that? So that so part of it is I'm totally fine with sort of the raw, unedited sort of interviews, but I also know that the channel will do better having, a few kind of shorter pieces and just, things that,
Yeah.
and there's so many tools and opportunities and events that I want to sort of share on the channel. But a big part of it to me is people. I want to make sure that the channel
I'll
has.
follow the channel. I think it will really help me. I'm your audience.
Yay! No, that's fantastic. Like I said, it's just, and I feel so
I'm your
blessed because
audience.
I love that. I have, I'm part of Women in GIS. I just joined Women Plus in Geospatial. And I'm obviously USC and part of the USC Spatial Sciences Institute. So I feel just even with those three, and then I have Google Women Tech Makers, though I don't seem to intersect yet a lot with other geospatial people there. But I look forward to finding them because Google's a geospatial behemoth, but I've yet to sort of find. But I found like these women communities are amazing and so supportive. I feel like 98% of my guests. I mean, I've interviewed one man as part of our GS day, but everybody else has been women, and I'm so very much just feel very aligned with that. And so yeah, so those are the things that I'm kind of playing with and working on, and but at the same time, like I don't, it's very important for me, and I feel like this is why I love GIS so much, is that half of my personality is really outgoing and half of my personality is super introverted. I've always identified myself professionally as a writer and a creative, and I spend time with contracts and I spend time with just quiet administration, and I like my work. A lot of my work is actually quite quiet. That's why I like editing. And so I think that's one of the reasons I love GIS is that you can have a public face to it, but you can also just work quietly.
Yeah, definitely. You can be many people.
Well, and they had a GIS. Well, actually, one of the videos I have to fix the audio because I kind of screwed up the beginning audio because I was replaying a Zoom meeting that USC hosted yesterday. But at minute 5, it fixes, and then it goes on for an hour. And as soon
Okay.
as they send me the new one, I'll upload it. But it was professors at the USC Film School, at the journalism school, and one of the Esri executives. And it was, to me, I was like, wow, that's great because I have a minor in film. Like I went to USC for my undergrad, and I did film as my major was international relations. So I love the world. I love cultures. I
And
love
you love
language,
learning,
and I
Philippa.
love
You
learning.
love learning because you did the urban thing and then GIS and film studies. That's a lot. Hey? And they're all like different.
Well, and that was what I was so joyful about. They had a story. It was sort of called Storytelling Superheroes, and here we have a screenwriter and a screenwriting professor. We have a journalism professor who's really focused on public data and making data accessible for local news stories. And we had someone who worked at GIS at Esri talking about his GIS journey and working with story maps and his aha moment of like, wow, I can tell stories with maps and data. And so that seeing that these people could all be in the same room and have the same conversation really makes me feel like I belong.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that that's the most important thing is creating that sense of belonging. It's not to
Yeah.
say that it's not a steep learning curve and that there's a lot of work to do. I did a lightning talk for Women in GIS, and one of the questions that came through, and she said, "This is a serious question. This is not a joke. Did you cry when you were learning ArcGIS Pro?" To which my answer was, "Yes, yes, I did."
Yes. Yes.
And so I
Yes.
think you have to be willing to struggle with these things, but
Yeah.
you'll get to the other side, especially if you have
Once you
purpose.
overcome, you feel so much better. Because when I did my MSc, I cried a lot because we had to build a web map from scratch. We had to do spatial simulation and not just work with Esri, other software that is so complicated, like German, like German hard, and make it work. So, but once you have overcome that, you feel like, wow, wow. I don't know how I got through, but yeah, I made it, and you feel good about yourself. So, well done, Philip.
So work in progress. Well, between now and Monday, I will have built something for the Google. So it's, to me, I'm super excited about this project. I feel like I'm a little behind, but I'll get there because I just cannot get the 3D tiles to load. I can get the Google Map to load, but I've created my own web app, which is the first time I've done that. So I'm like, okay, I'm learning coding. Got my web app. And I got an email this morning saying, do you need help? I was like, yes, I do. She said, well, check out this Discord. So I put my questions in there this morning. And I'll go through all the tutorials again. But I actually realized for today, I'm actually going to even put that away. And I'm going to go back to my data set because we need to work with SQL, which I did that course last semester, and with Python. So I actually now want to sort of see my data, and then knowing that that's all pretty and packaged, that when I get the 3D tiles to work, I can like overlay my data. But my project, kind of tying back to urban planning, is ports. I for some reason, I love ports because they are really, so for the sustainability issue, you've got their enormous economic value, and all the goods that we use come in through shipping. And so we need our ports, but they're really toxic, and they're really polluted, and they really have, massive health impacts on the people who live near a port. And so, for example,
so you have all the skills at your fingertips, the GIS, the urban planning, and writing a beautiful story. Wow.
So, well, I was on one of their webinars in the social, because to me, you can't disconnect this thing from relationships. And so I just participated in one of their clean air action stakeholder webinars. And they've been talking about all of the things they're doing to try to be a greener port. And both the Port of Long Beach and Port of New York, New Jersey have master plans that say, by 2030, by 2050, we want to be zero emissions. We want to be clean ports. And, just what do we need to do to get there? What are those roadmaps? And so one of the people on the webinar was saying, well, one of our goals is to get $2 billion in grants to continue to meet our goals. And the tagline for Port of Long Beach is the green port. They're really trying to live that. Yet there were people on the call who live in the neighborhood saying, I lost my dad too early, I lost my mom too early, and I'm going to die because, these health impacts are real. So my little sustainability project is basically wanting to do a 3D tour of the port and some of their green initiatives, but sort of still highlighting some of the challenges and making it sort of an interactive 3D where you can kind of look around the port and see their projects, and just have a few different like data analysis pieces and some information, and that all, and in my ideal scene, they could actually use this to go raise their $2 billion.
Wow. I want to have this conversation with you. Carry on.
Well, let's wrap it up for now.
My battery is at 2%.
No, and we're hitting it at the end of the hour, and it's late for you. So I thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to meet you. I'm going to look forward to sharing this conversation. I'm going to share the link with you for this, but as I have these other pieces and like my edits, we'll keep going. And like I said, as an audience for the channel, tell me what you want to see more of. We'll make it happen. And also, please come back and let's do one that will sort of, especially like I said, we can get that marketing push in February when they do, around that next sort of geo conversation. Yep. So excellent. Thank you so much,
Have
Sharon.
Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you, Philippa. Enjoy your day.
You too. All right. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Bye.